Jennifer had an epic quarrel with her best friend Alice and decided to go hiking without her. After a long walk, she chose a place to settle down for the night. The next morning, she got out of the tent and found out that all her food supplies were gone. Take a look at the picture. Can you guess who stole the food? Although there are hair footprints all over the ground, these animals are too small to untie and carry away such a large bag of food. Alice followed Jennifer to prank her, but she forgot her hairband at the crime scene. Can you find a 4-leaf clover in this pattern? Here it is. Peter got tired of big city life and moved to a quiet village. He opened a small coffee shop. His place gained popularity among local farmers and tourists very quickly. But one night, someone broke into the coffee shop and robbed it. Peter interrogated 4 suspects. Dylan said he'd been out of the city that night. Leia had been cleaning her room all night. Vanessa said she'd been rehearsing a dance for the upcoming New Year's performance. And Jason had been taking care of his cattle. Who's lying? Vanessa, look at these blooming flowers in the field. It's summertime. It's too early for New Year's rehearsals. Vicky got on a bus. But suddenly, she ran out screaming, "There's a zombie in there!" Who is a zombie? It's the driver. Take a look at his arm. Fred is a fitness coach. He bought a pack of peanut butter cookies on the way to his office. He couldn't eat them inside the building since his boss, Mia, had a really bad peanut allergy. Plus, his current clients were on a sugar-free diet for a week. So, Fred took a couple of bites and hid the remaining cookies in his locker. When Fred opened the pack during the next break, it was empty. He questioned the clients. Chris said he'd been talking to his mother. Pam went out to get some fresh air. Jason helped Mia serve peanut butter sandwiches and coffee. And Kelly was busy eating her fruit salad. Who's lying? Jason. Mia has a peanut allergy. She wouldn't have come close to peanut butter sandwiches. Can you guess the word by these emojis? It's iPhone. What about this combination? It's airline. And what about these emojis? That's a coffee break. Let's try another one. It's bad luck. What about this combination? A starfish. What about these emojis? Cornbread. How about these 2 emojis? Right, that's sunlight. Let's try another one. Sunglasses. Can you find a snowman among these pandas? Here it is. Can you find a rabbit among all these cats? This little guy over here. Someone robbed a bank last night. Its manager doesn't want the clients to know about it, so he hasn't told any details to the press yet. The police have found 3 suspects. All of them have been previously accused of similar robberies. The police officer asked, "What were you doing when the robbery happened?" Stacy claimed she'd gone to bed at 11 p.m. Dan said, "I was bowling with my friends between 1 and 2 a.m. Ryan said he had spent the whole night in a hospital with his granny. Who robbed the bank? It was Dan. The police officer didn't mention when exactly the robbery had happened. Then how did he know it? Kelly was walking alone in the forest. She found a picturesque spot and began to record a dance for her TikTok, but suddenly she fell into a cave. Kelly looked around and noticed 4 doors. There were hungry lions behind the first door. Venomous insects were hiding behind the second door. Behind the third door, there was a tunnel that was on fire. And there were live wires behind the fourth door. Which way is safe? The fourth door is the safest. There's enough space for Kelly to crawl under the wires. Can you find a panda among these people? It's over there. Miss Green recently got the job of a college teacher. She decided to start her first class with a small test. The woman watched her students during the test very attentively and noticed that 3 of them were cheating. Who? Look at this guy's knee. And this young lady is holding a book under her desk. And this young man over here has a bottle with the answers written on it. Can you find the odd emoji? Something is wrong with this guy's teeth. Harry woke up in a creepy abandoned hospital. He searched the area and only found an old cart. He went further and saw 4 doors, but there were dangers lurking behind each of these doors. Angry werewolves were waiting behind the first one. The floor behind the second door was all covered with toxic acid. There was a wicked witch behind the third door, and there was a fire blazing behind the fourth door. What should Harry do? Harry should choose the second door and use the cart to get to safety. Can you find the odd fish? Here it is. Gemma decided to follow her dreams and move to a cute house in a small village. She found several boxes in the basement and organized a garage sale to sell that stuff. Gemma put up an ad, everything for $1. Leah bought an old chess set, Peter purchased a mirror, and Daniel bought an old jewelry box. When they left, Gemma's neighbor came over and told her that she'd made a mistake. She had just sold a very expensive thing for a song. What item did she mean? Not the chess set because it's made of plastic, and not the mirror because it's cracked. She meant the jewelry box. Look at how Daniel is carrying it. The thing's heavy and probably filled with expensive stuff. Can you find the odd emoji? Here it is. Peter and Wendy had a picnic in a beautiful park. Suddenly, it started raining and they hid in their car. That's when Wendy noticed she had left her phone outside. Peter returned to the picnic spot but found no phone. Luckily, the thief couldn't get far. So, Peter entered the nearest cafe to check the customers. He saw 3 people inside. The guy immediately figured out who had taken the phone. Can you guess who the thief is? It's the second guy. He's the only one with wet hair and clothes. On his birthday, Jason invited 3 friends on a hiking trip. They found a beautiful wild beach and decided to stay there for the night. In an hour, one of Jason's friends disappeared. They separated to search for him, and the other 2 friends also vanished. Can you guess what happened? Jason's friends decided to prank him. They're waiting for him with a birthday cake on a boat. Mary had just returned from a 2-day business trip. She's starving, so she rushes to the kitchen. She opens the fridge to get some snacks. Can you help Mary throw away spoiled food? This apple has gone bad. Some weird loud sounds woke Emily in the middle of the night. She ran to her roommates' bedrooms to check on them. Both Mia and Sam were sound asleep. In the morning, Emily found out that their house had been robbed. Mia said that she'd been sleeping and hadn't heard anything suspicious. Sam said that he had returned from a party very late and had fallen asleep immediately. Can you guess what happened? The robber entered the house through Sam's window and pretended to be Sam when Emily came to check on her roommate. And the real Sam returned from the party way later that night. Can you figure out who this dog belongs to? The dog's owner is the woman in the middle. She's the only one who's not trying to pet the dog. What is the sum of these numbers? Four plus 17 plus 13 equals 34. George was returning home after a long day at work. He was walking through the park when somebody pushed him. He woke up in a well. The walls were too slippery to climb out of it, and he couldn't reach the bucket. Luckily, the guy found the solution. Can you guess how George escaped? He took off his shoes and threw them back into the bucket. The added weight brought the bucket down, and George used it to climb out of the well and escape. An old king doesn't have an heir, but he still has to choose a successor to take care of the country. So he gathered all young men and women in his kingdom and gave each of them a seed. "The person who will grow the largest plant will inherit the throne," he said. 3 months later, all the participants came back to the palace to show their plants. After the king looked at them, he chose a young lady with an empty pot. Why did he pick her? The king gave the participants fake seeds. The woman was the only honest person who didn't try to cheat. There are 3 sticks. Can you make 4 out of them without breaking any stick? Here you go. A man was doing some repairs and accidentally fell from the roof of a 12-story building. He was not wearing a parachute, but he still survived the fall. How? He landed on a balcony on the 11th floor. Mr. Tyler is a college professor. He teaches history, and his students like his classes very much. But one day, they decided to surprise Mr. Tyler and put on mummy costumes before his class. When Mr. Tyler saw them, he yells and runs away. Why? This guy over there is a real mummy. He's levitating and there's flies around him. It's Lucy's birthday today. She ordered a cake. But unfortunately, the delivery guy brought the wrong one. Lucy goes to the pastry shop herself and asks to replace the cake. There are 3 cakes left in the fridge. Can you find the correct one? The first cake has a bride and groom figurine on top, so it's probably a wedding cake. The second cake is meant for another customer named Mary. Therefore, the third one belongs to Lucy. Lucy takes the cake and heads home. She's passing by an Italian restaurant. Can you spot a vampire hunter among these people? It's this chef with a garlic necklace. Finally, Lucy returns home. Some of her guests are already here. Her sister Stella, her college friend Anna, and her colleague Jessica. Lucy asks them to iron her new party dress and rushes to the shower to freshen up. Then she returns to the guests. The dress is perfectly ironed, but there's a huge blue stain on it. Can you figure out who put the stain on her dress? It was Jessica. She has blue ink on her hands because her pen was leaking. Lucy goes to her bedroom to find a new outfit for her party. Then she returns to the kitchen to check on the cake in the fridge. Oh no! Someone has bitten it! Lucy hasn't even blown the candles yet. Who's guilty? Take a look at the crime scene. There's a used fork with some red lipstick on it. Anna is the only one who's wearing red lipstick. The mystery is solved. Lucy gives Anna a postcard with the following text. Can you decode this rebus? You are under arrest. It's time to unwrap the gifts. Lucy's guests say, you have to crack our riddles to get the gifts. Riddle 1. I get shorter the more I'm used, but I'm not a pencil. I'm made of wax, but I'm not a crayon. I can help you see in the dark, but I'm not a flashlight. I'm often found on a birthday cake, but I'm not icing. What am I? I'm a candle. Lucy gets her first gift from Stella. The guys go ahead and invite Lucy to crack the next riddle. I can pop, but I'm not popcorn. Sometimes I have a string attached, but I'm not a kite. Sometimes I float, but I'm not a swimmer. I'm seen at birthday parties, but I'm not a candle. What am I? I'm a balloon. Lucy gets a bunch of balloons from Jessica. To get the third gift, Lucy needs to solve the following riddle. I bake, I rest, I come in different shapes, and I sometimes live with a flame on top of my head. What am I? I'm a cake. Suddenly, someone rings the doorbell. Lucy opens the door and sees 3 people in carnival masks. 2 of them are late guests of Lucy, but one of them is an imposter. Can you guess who? It's the person in the middle. He doesn't have any feet, and he's floating in the air. This guy must be a ghost! Lucy returns to the kitchen. Oh no! Someone popped the balloons. Let's have a look around. Jessica is trying to get rid of a stain on her clothes. Stella is lighting a candle, and Anna is finishing her pizza sitting right next to the balloons. Who's guilty? Anna is wearing a dress with spikes. They must have poked some holes in the balloons. It's time to blow out the candles. Lucy pours tea for all the guests. Then she leaves the table to have a brief phone call. Lucy returns and takes a sip of tea from her cup. Yikes, it's very salty. Lucy interrogates 3 people around the table. Stella says, I didn't touch your cup. I was busy taking a selfie. Anna says, I was cutting fruit, only your sister is capable of such a silly prank. And Jessica says, I was in the bathroom, so I didn't see what was happening at the table. Who's lying? Anna, look! She's hiding the salt shaker in her dress. Anna admits that she was trying to destroy the party. She's turning 22 today, but everyone forgot about her birthday. Lucy wants to make amends. Take a look around and try to find a possible gift for Anna. Hey, Lucy's birthday cake still has unlit candles in the shape of numbers 2 and 5. Lucy can turn the 5 upside down, make the candles look like 22, and present them to Anna. Luckily, Anna forgives Lucy. Some of the guests start dancing. Suddenly, the light goes off for a second and then comes back on. Stella screams, "Someone stole one of my diamond earrings!" She questions 3 suspects. Lucy's boyfriend, Bill, says, "I was trying to film a TikTok dance when the lights went out." Anna says, I'm afraid of the dark, so I just landed on the sofa. Lucy's coworker Oliver says, I wanted to ask Stella to dance, but suddenly it became dark, so I just froze. Who stole the earring? No one. It just fell under this chair. Lucy decides to take some party pictures. Can you find 3 differences between these 2 pictures? Here they are. Let's see if you can find 3 differences between these pictures. Over here. Let's make the task a little harder. Can you spot 5 differences between these images? Here they are. Bill is an artist. He gives Lucy his painting as a birthday gift. What's wrong here? There's no river. Can you help Lucy distribute these party hats among her guests? Stella loves the color yellow, but she's not fond of green. Oliver doesn't like the color purple and stripes. Anna is allergic to flowers, but she loves stars. Jessica doesn't like the color yellow, and Bill is not fond of orange decor. The first hat is for Jessica, and the second one is for Stella. Anna should get the third hat, Bill the fourth one. And finally, the 5th hat is perfect for Oliver. Lucy and her guests run out of food, but they're still hungry. There's a pizza restaurant just next to Lucy's place. Bill decides to go there. He rushes over and bumps into another customer. Bill hits his head and forgets what pizza Lucy asked him to buy. He remembers just 3 things. The pizza topping shouldn't include more than 4 colors. It shouldn't have any onions. But it must have at least 1 green element. Can you help Bill find the correct pizza? Four-cheese pizza and margarita don't have any greenish elements, so we can exclude them. Mushroom pizza does have green olives, but it also has onions, as well as pineapple and jalapeno pizza. Goodbye! Only pepperoni pizza is in line with the assignment. Suddenly, Lucy hears someone ringing on the door. She opens and faces 2 dudes. They introduce themselves briefly. Peter says, I'm the nephew of your next-door neighbor, Glenda. She sent me here to borrow a cup of sugar from Lucy. And Rick says, I'm a delivery guy. Here's a birthday gift. Can you guess who the prankster is? It's Rick. He doesn't know Lucy's name, which is weird for a delivery guy. I wouldn't risk opening this box. Lucy exposes Rick and returns to the kitchen. She discovers that someone has broken her favorite vase. Lucy interrogates 3 suspects. Bill says, I was in the bathroom. I just returned and noticed the broken vase. Stella says, I put roses in this vase about an hour ago, and I haven't approached it since. And Jessica says, I was dancing in the living room. About 5 minutes ago, I heard the sound of breaking glass from the kitchen. Who's lying? Stella, take a closer look at the broken vase. No roses, only daisies.
You just entered a riddle-solving competition. The game show host shows you the first riddle you have to answer. Take a look at the image. Who do you think will be able to make it all the way across the line? Let's face it, it's the man on the left. Even though it looks like he's having a hard time carrying such heavy things, the weight is evenly distributed between his two hands, so he'll probably make it through without any problem. For your next challenge, the game show host shows you a picture of sinking boats. Which boat do you think will sink first? The first boat has 2 holes in it, but somehow it has way less water inside. The second boat only has 1 hole, but look at the amount of water that's gotten inside. It's definitely the second boat that's going to sink first. Since you passed the first 2 rounds, the third one gets a bit harder. Ken was riding on his rollerblades when he fell down and hurt his head. He woke up in the hospital, only to find that 3 Barbies were waiting for him. Take a look at the image. Can you figure out which Barbie is actually Ken's girlfriend? This is a tricky one. It can't be the third Barbie because the real Barbie would never wink at Ken. It's usually him that does the flirty things. It's also not the second Barbie because she would never put on makeup in front of him. So this leaves us with the first Barbie, who must be his girlfriend. The Finn is a famous hostel in Spain. It's especially famous for its fun showers. But hey, something doesn't look right in this image. Take a look and try to guess what it is. The woman on the right is squeezing a ketchup bottle instead of a shampoo bottle. That's definitely weird, huh? For the final rounds, the host picked out a few written riddles for you. The first one is, I speak without a mouth and hear without ears. Am I a microphone, a phone, or an echo? What would you say? The answer is echo, echo, echo. I'm not alive, but I can grow. I don't have lungs, but I need air. What am I? A tree, fire, or clouds? The correct answer is fire. Way to go if you chose that. Now, Carol was invited to a Halloween party in an abandoned house. Her friends asked if she was up for a challenge, and she said yes. Soon enough, she was locked inside a room. In this room, there was 1 door and 3 light switches next to it. Behind the door was an empty closet with nothing but a light bulb. Her task was to figure out which switch controls the light bulb inside the closet. She could flip the switches in whatever way she wanted, but once she opened the door, she couldn't touch the switches anymore. After some minutes of thinking, she was able to get it right. How did Carol do it? Okay, let's go step by step. She flipped switch number 1 and then waited a few minutes. She flipped it back to off and then immediately flipped switch number 2. Then she opened the door and checked the light. The bulb was off, so she discovered that it wasn't switch number 2 that controlled the light. So she decided to touch the bulb to test if it was hot or cold. If the bulb had been cold, that would have meant that switch number 3 controlled it. But the bulb was hot, so that meant that switch number 1 controlled 1. Way to go, Carol! To get back to the party, Carol had to solve another riddle. There were 2 hourglasses in front of her. One hourglass measures 7 minutes, and the other one measures 4 minutes. She needed to time 9 minutes using both hourglasses. How could she do it? First, she turned both hourglasses at the same time. By the time the 4-minute glass finished, there were still 3 minutes left on the other one. She flipped the 4-minute glass again. When the 7-minute glass was empty, there was 1 minute left on the other glass. And once the 4-minute glass emptied again, there was 1 minute's worth of sand at the bottom half of the 7-minute timer. She flipped it over again, so there was 1 minute worth of sand on the top of the glass. And when the 7-minute timer finally emptied again, 9 minutes elapsed in total. Anna sat down to watch her favorite TV show. She made some popcorn, turned on the TV, and nestled comfortably to binge-watch an entire season. Her cat Pepper sat down next to her, but after 5 minutes of screen time, Anna suddenly passed out. Look at the image. Can you guess what happened there? Anna's cat Pepper got scared with the loud thump that came from the TV. It jumped on top of Anna and it scared the life out of her. That's why she passed out.
Joshua and Jeremy were going on a hiking trip to Adventure Mountains. They were about to leave their room to catch their train, but there's something wrong here. Can you spot the oddity? Well, they're going hiking, but Joshua is wearing shiny business shoes. Those'll be too slippery on the mountains. Once they arrived at the train station, Jeremy realized that he had forgotten the tickets. They went to the ticket sales booth to explain their situation. The salesman told them he might be able to give them new tickets, only if they could answer his riddle correctly. I stand tall, yet I never walk. With rocky peaks, I love to talk. Above the clouds, my head does rise. What am I that touches the skies? Can you figure out the answer? It's a mountain. During the train ride, Joshua and Jeremy were enjoying the beautiful scenery from the window. But then, suddenly, Jeremy screamed. Can you tell why? Take a look at the birds flying in the distance. Were you able to spot the small dragon flying with them? Well, Jeremy did. Joshua and Jeremy finally arrived at their destination. Before they started climbing up, they wanted to make sure their water bottles were full for the entirety of the hike. They saw 3 different drinking fountains from where they could fill their bottles. Take a look at them and tell me which ones they should pick. If you look closer at the first fountain, you can see a snake's tongue sticking out in the water flowing from the fountain tap. That's gross. And the second fountain's water has a slightly yellow hue. That's a no from me, so they should pick the third fountain. Jeremy and Joshua were finally ready to begin their hike. There were 3 different hiking trails they could follow. They wanted to choose the longest trail to be able to spend more time on the mountain. Take a look at the hiking trail map. You have 10 seconds to tell me which trail is the longest. It's the second trail. During their hike, Jeremy wanted to take some photos for his social media account, so they decided to go off-path, deep into the forest. But suddenly, an elf stopped them and said, I am the guardian of this forest. I won't allow you to walk any further. Unless you know the answer to this riddle. I have cities but no houses, forests but no trees, and rivers but no water. What am I? Do you know the answer? It's a map. It became dark before Jeremy and Joshua could get back on the hiking trail. They decided to spend the night in the forest, just in case. can you help them pick which tree they should build their tent under? Do you see the snake hole here next to the second tree? The consequences would be disastrous if they built their tent above it. And as for the third tree, there's a bee's nest on one of the branches, so it wouldn't be wise to pick that one. That's why they should pick the first tree. After completing their adventure and returning to their hotel room, Jeremy and Joshua started comparing the photos they had taken. But Joshua noticed that there were 5 differences in the photos they took at the same place. Take a look at them both here. Can you spot them? In the first photo, the mountaintop view is covered with snow, but that's not the case in the second photo. Secondly, the logo that Jeremy's t-shirt has in the first photo is different in the second photo. Thirdly, in the second photo, a pair of glowing eyes can be seen in between the trees, which doesn't exist in the first photo. Creepy. As for the fourth difference, in the first photo, Joshua is holding 2 of his trekking poles. But in the second photo, he's only holding 1. And lastly, in the first photo, there are 2 cable cars riding to the top of the mountain. But in the second photo, there's only 1.
Hey, look at these couples. Can you spot anything weird here? Seems like the only real wife is the one on the right. She looks grumpy, but she is authentically human. Meanwhile, the lady on the left must be a robot. Just look at her legs. A local bank's money was stolen right in the middle of the day. But no one noticed that. Several days later, the room where the money used to be stored was found completely empty. There was just one note saying 7718. The police arrested 3 suspects, Bill, Jeff, and Cody. But the officers didn't know which of them was guilty. They invited a famous detective to crack the mysterious case. And the detective managed to decipher the note immediately. Can you do it too? So, turn the paper upside down. This way, the numbers turn into a name, Bill. The man wants to enter an exclusive club, but he doesn't know the password. Another man walks up to the entrance. The doorman says 12, and the man says 6, and is allowed to enter. Another man approaches. The doorman says 6, the man says 3, and the doorman lets him in. Thinking he's heard enough, our guy walks to the door. When the doorman says 10, he says 5. But he isn't allowed to enter. What should he have said? Three. The correct answer is the number of letters in the word the doorman says. Martin was a robber. One day he was trying to escape from the police after robbing a bank. He had 3 gold bars in his arms, each weighing 20 pounds. Ooh. The only way to get away was to cross a bridge, which could only support 220 pounds. The 3 bars of gold weigh 60 pounds, and Martin weighed 180 pounds. Could he cross the bridge without getting rid of any of the bars? Now, Martin can't leave a bar of gold and come pick it up later, so the only solution is to make those bars fly. To make it happen, Martin must juggle them. This way, only 2 bars will add extra weight to the bridge, while the third one will always remain airborne. Voila! 180 plus 20 plus 20 equals 220, so the bridge can totally handle it. However, Martin couldn't handle it because he couldn't juggle, and the police got their man. A thief entered a high-end boutique and forced the shop assistant to open the safe. The shop assistant said, "The code for the safe is different every day, and if you harm me, you'll never get the code." but the thief managed to guess the code on his own. How did he do it? The thief was smart. The code to the safe was the word different, just as the shop assistant said. A wealthy businessman, Mr. Ben Swift, was taken away and locked up in a dark room. His phone had almost no charge. He could only send one message. He knew that someone could be spying on his phone, so he decided to send a message with a code to a high school friend, John Smith, who had a detective agency. He remembered that in high school, they would cipher messages to each other, replacing each letter with the one to the left. So he sent this. Can you guess what it means? It's not gibberish. Once you decipher it, the message reads accountant, so it seems his accountant is to blame. You're wandering through the jungle when, all of a sudden, you see a magnificent ancient castle. You enter it and see its inhabitants. It's kind of hard to say if they're friendly or not, but hey, look, they've just fetched you some snacks. Still, you can tell from their grins that these snacks might be a trap for you. You can't say no to them and need to choose something to eat. There are 4 muffins in front of you. They all look yummy and your mouth is watering. One of the inhabitants, who seems to be the leader, tells you that the first muffin has some fermented cabbage inside. The second is swarming with live ants. The third has mud instead of chocolate cream. And the fourth one has ackee fruit inside. So, which dessert should you opt for? A muffin with fermented cabbage may sound weird, but it's safe to eat. You've tried fermented cabbage, aka kimchi, before and you loved it. For those who love unusual stuff, the fourth muffin is okay too. Ackee fruit is delicious when cooked properly. As for the ants and mud muffins, I'd pass. Lucy is a nail technician. Her services are free to anyone who wants to set up an appointment. However, most people still end up paying her. How so? Lucy only does one hand for free, so most people who come end up paying the full price. They don't want to look weird with their nails done only on one hand. Poor Kathy lived with a stepmother and 3 wicked stepsisters. Her dream was to go to a lit party, which she had been waiting for a year. Her stepmother, Eveline, never let Kathy go anywhere. But this time, Eveline decided to let Kathy go as soon as she had finished with all her tasks. The stepmother asked Kathy to bring her some water, but she gave her a colander to carry the water. How can Kathy bring the water if she has nothing but a colander? Kathy needs to freeze some water and put it in the colander. It'll take some time to melt. When Eveline gets that colander full of ice, technically, it'll be full of water. Jeremy got lost while driving, so he found the nearest town and decided to spend the night in a hotel. After checking in, he went to the restaurant. Suddenly, the lights went off and everyone fell asleep. The next morning, Jeremy had a terrible headache and he couldn't remember anything. Look at these 2 photos. They were taken before and after the lights went out. Can you guess what happened? Look, there are some balloons in the first photo, but none in the second one. They must have been filled with sleeping gas. Someone wanted everyone to sleep. Jenny went grocery shopping and bought a lot of milk, yogurt, meat, and cheese. When she came back home, She realized that she had nowhere to store all these products as her fridge was already full. How can she save all the food she bought? Jenny needs to revise the stuff in her fridge. Look, there's a pack of rice, some chips, and even cookies. These products don't need to be stored in the fridge. Once she takes them out of the fridge, she'll have enough space to store the dairy products and meat she bought. Twiggy's got her 2 piggies. Alex grooves with his 2 wolves. And Tony has a pony. They're all on the shore of a vast and dangerous river. They need to get across, and there's only one small raft nearby. But it's not as simple as it might seem. There are 5 rules the guys need to follow. Rule number 1, the raft can only carry 2 of them. Number 2, only humans can row. Number 3, the piggies can't ride with Alex unless Twiggy is around. Number 4, the wolves can't ride with Twiggy without Alex. And finally, number 5, the pony can only ride with Tony. How can they all get across? First, they need Tony on board. He needs to take one of the wolves across the river. The rules don't prohibit it. When he comes back, Alex takes the second wolf across the river. Then Alex goes back alone. Twiggy joins him and they go to the other bank, where Twiggy leaves Alex and goes back alone. She gives the raft to Tony and his pony, and they go to the other bank. When they reach it, Alex takes the raft and goes back to pick up Twiggy. He picks her up, they go back, and Twiggy leaves Alex there. After that, she goes back to pick up her pigs one by one. Finally, I thought this was never going to end. Hey!